In this section, we're going to be talking about wildcards. And this is where things start to get really interesting and fun with Linux. This is where you can start to see why Linux is really powerful. In this section, we're going to be covering what wildcards are, get a good understanding of what the concept is, and see some practical examples. Wildcards, also known as globbing, are characters or strings used for pattern matching. Usually we use those with command line to increase the flexibility of searches or commands that we are issuing. So what does it mean when I say they're characters or strings? Here are some examples. The first is the asterisk character, and it's used to match 0 or all characters. The second is the question mark. It's used to match exactly one character. The third is a bracket, and it's used to match any of the characters enclosed in the bracket. And the last is the escape character, and it's used to escape the above characters. So if, for example, in my search term, I am looking for a bracket, I will precede that with a backslash. Let's see some practical examples. I've created a number of files that we very commonly see when we're doing ethical hacking engagements. Feel free to download these files, or you can create them yourself. These files are empty, they're just created for the purpose of this exercise. What we're looking at here is a number of files that correspond to different network ranges and network addresses. So the assumption is that I've been doing an ethical hack for a company, and I generated throughout my assessment a number of files from Nmap and a number of text files that I've written notes into. As you can see, we have different names and different extensions to these files. So we have files.txt, we have files.gnmap, we have files.nmap, and we're going to see what the difference between these two files are later on. And I have files that end with .odt. The first thing I want to do is I want to back up all these files before I start removing or moving these files around, just in case. And I can do that using the tar command that we saw in the previous exercise. So I'm just going to type tar cf to create a file. The name of the file will be backup.tar space star. This is the first wildcard I'm using. Star, as we've seen before, means match 0 or all characters. So in this case, I'm telling tar to create a tar file and include in it everything in the current directory. Once that's done, let me verify very quickly the content, and I can do that using the tar tf command, and here we go. I get all the files backed up. Fantastic. So now I can start cleaning up my directory and reorganizing it. I'm going to create a directory called notes, and I want to move all the notes files into that directory. It's good practice before I delete or I move any file, especially before I delete any files, to do an ls command if I'm using any wildcards. And I do that just to make sure that my command works correctly and I'm not accidentally deleting files that I shouldn't be deleting. So now if I do ls notes, notice that not only the notes files are listed, but also the notes directory that I just created. If I now use the asterisk wildcard and I try to move notes asterisk into the notes directory, the command will attempt to move everything that starts with the word notes followed with whatever. So notes 10, notes 11, including the notes directory. And what that means is that I'll be attempting to move the notes directory into itself. This will generate an error for me. But if you look a little bit closer, you'll see that all the notes files have a hyphen in the middle before the digits. So it's notes-10, notes-11 or -11, notes-12, and so on. So let me see what happens if I do ls notes-star. Excellent. So this command lists all the notes files excluding the notes directories. Now I can safely use my move command, knowing that I'm only going to be moving the files into the notes directory without trying to move the notes directory into itself. And I can do that typing move or mv notes dash star for all the notes files. So this is going to go with notes dash 10.txt and notes 24.odt. So it doesn't matter what the digit is, it doesn't matter what the extension is, and it doesn't matter what follows the notes hyphen. And I hit enter and I do an ls on the notes directory, and here we go. I managed to successfully move all my notes into the notes directory. Excellent. Let me clear the screen and I do ls again. Here's what I want to do now. I want to get rid of all the 10.10.100 files. Here's a scenario. I did a scan on this network and no results were found. So I don't need to be keeping these files. I just want to remove them. The challenging bit here though is that I have 10.10.100.0.txt, and then I have the 10.10.100 without the 0.gnmap, and the third one is .nmap. So what's the simplest way to remove these three files? Again, I'm going to verify my command with ls before I remove anything. Let me try and do ls 10.10.100. Well, that was simple enough. So that listed the three files for me. So now, for that to work with the remove command, I need to add the asterisk to tell the command to look for anything after the 100 dot. I can verify this with ls 10.10.100 dot asterisk, and again that listed out the three files. Perfect. Now all I need to do is replace the ls with rm. Great. I'll clear the screen again and ls. Now here's what I want to do. I want to move all the nmap files into one directory. Remember, I have two different extensions, gnmap and nmap. We'll see how we're going to manage that. First, I want to create a directory called nmap. Once that's done, I'm gonna try and list all the nmap files. I'm gonna try ls asterisk dot nmap. That didn't actually work. So that listed all the files that start with anything with the extension .nmap, but that missed out on the gnmap. What if I do ls*.gnmap? That unfortunately doesn't work either, so it only lists the files with the gnmap extension. That's my challenge now. I want a command that lists both. So the command should say list whatever .nmap and .gnmap. How can I do that? What if I put another asterisk after the dot? So ls asterisk dot asterisk nmap. Excellent, this worked. So what this command did is that it listed anything dot anything followed immediately with nmap. So if, for example, I had a file with extension .123456 nmap, that would have been listed as well. So now that my command works, all I need to do again is replace the ls with mv. And I do ls on the nmap directory, and here we go. All my nmap files are in one directory. Let me clear the screen. Now things will start to get a little bit more interesting. I have different network ranges. I have the 10.10.10, 10.10.11, and 10.10.12. I'm going to call that the 10s range because it's 10, 11, 12. I also have the 20s range, so 10.10.23.24 and .25. I'm going to call those the 20s range. And last, I have the 10.10.200s range, 206, 207, and 208. What I want to do now is move all these different ranges into different folders. So I'm going to start by creating the different directories. I'll create the 10s, 20s, and 200s. Now let me try the first command. I'm going to do ls10.10.1. That was easy enough. That listed for me the tens range. 10.10.10.11.12. So now if I do ls10.10.1 asterisk, it should produce the same result. There we go. And all I need to do now is move, change the ls to move, and add the directory name. I list the contents of the directory and all the files are moved. Now, what happens if I try the same thing with the 20s? Let's see. ls10.10.2. Oh, that doesn't look like it's gonna work. It lists the 20s and the 200s because they both start with 2. So if I do ls10.10.2 star, I'm gonna get both ranges. So what do I do now? Remember the question mark? So the asterisk matched 0 or all characters. The question mark matches exactly one character. So now if I put the question mark after the 2 and I add the extension dot whatever, I'll only get a listing of the 20s. Why? Because the question mark replaces only one digit after the 2. In this case, 23, 24, and 25. What if I wanted to list the 200s? Simple. I put another question mark. So now I'm telling ls to list 10.10.10.2 digit dot whatever. Great, here we go. Now all I need to do is change the ls into move. I move the 20s into one directory. And I do ls again. Now all that's left are the 200s. Obviously I could repeat the old command and I can do 2 question marks. But that's not the fastest way to do that. If you look at the contents of the file, all that's left are the text files. And they all start with somedigits.txt. Now because all that's left are the 200s, I know that I want to move all of these into the 200s folder. So the simplest, fastest way to do that is replace the network ranges with a star or asterisk, telling my move command to move everything that ends with a .txt. And I put the folder name and done. I do ls to double check. Good stuff. Here's a quick bonus for you. I'm going to try the tree command. It doesn't exist. So we're going to use what we just learned in the previous sections to install the command. apt get install tree. Wait for a few seconds for it to install. Now if I try again, the command exists. So the tree command shows you the content of any directory in a more graphical organized format. I want to see the content of the current directory that I'm in. What do? We've seen this before. Tree space dot, and it shows me this neat organized output. I can verify that under tens I have the tens range, under 200s same, 20s same, nmap has all the nmap files, and all the .txt nodes and .odt nodes are in my nodes directory. Now that looks much more organized than it looked before. Here's your mission for this section. If you haven't been following up with what I've done, please do it. Practice it. It might sound like it's a lot of information, but with practice it will get easier and easier. And you'll notice that almost 90% of the time, your usage will be limited to asterisk. So practice a little bit with that. Create these files. Repeat the exercises if you haven't done so already following up with the video, so we can move into the next section.